Hey buddies, Miss Pugga here, coming at you with another Borderlands 3 video. Today we're going to be covering a new Borderlands 3 build that a fan of mine had actually sent to us. His name is Sentenced to Burn. Let me show him on the screen right here. He was lovely enough to actually send me this build, I believe back in October, but I never got actually around to doing the build, so I'm really excited to actually show you guys what it's all about. So primarily what we do with this build is run a Face-Puncher and a White Elephant on Zane. Zane does a really good job at staying alive with his action skill point Salvation. You just need 1 point in that sucker and you're able to get max HP no matter what build you're using, as long as you're dealing crazy amounts of damage at endgame. Another key focus on this build is actually going to be the 4th skill tree action skill, Mantis Cannon. Mantis Cannon does really great paired with the barrier as well, so we're running both of those. The key points of this build is basically keeping your DPS at a max because of the Face-Puncher plus White Elephant combo with Groundbreaker. And then we constantly shoot our Mantis Cannons to be able to freeze everyone around us with our Frozen Heart. Now the Frozen Heart we're running is action skills. Activate any effects that trigger on Shield Breaker Fill, so this allows us to just constantly throw out Novas, dealing tons and tons of damage. It oftentimes kill fodder enemies just like that in one hit, so it's very useful if you have a bunch of enemies around you. Just spam it. Spam the Mantis Cannons twice and just Novas kill them instantly, or just even one Nova will kill them. Another key point into this build is actually going to be some terror anointments. For those of you who recently played around October, like Halloween event, you should have these anointments on most shields and grenades, but primarily we're looking for anything that has the anointment melee attacks have a 25% chance to apply terror to yourself. I have it on my Face-Puncher, which is really lucky find. You could also have it on shield or grenades, I believe, don't quote me on that, but I like to have it on my Face-Puncher because I like to have the Frozen Heart have the action skill start for the free Novas, and the while terrified gain increased damage and fire rate while the more terror we have. So we're going to be able to shoot enemies, kill them left and right, kill the fodder enemies left and right. We're going to be building up stacks, and as we're dealing those melee damage, we're going to get terror stacks, so it's going to increase our damage as well. That's going to allow us to start hitting in the millions and kill most badasses in one shot. Now we usually don't have to worry about 2-tapping most enemies with this build, because the Frozen Heart will apply a Frozen on an enemies with a 100% chance to freeze, so they're going to be frozen solid right away on one action skill. That will allow us to deal 3 times the melee damage, and you know that the White Elephant scales off our melee's damage, so you can just one-tap them, and you see some stickies on the enemies, you can just leave them be, and the White Elephants will probably just take care of the rest. It's absolutely insane. Be able to kill most enemies with this build. It's really fun. And awesome part with Zane is that you know Zane is the fastest boy in this game, so obviously we got to run 5 violent momentums and 5 violent speed in the blue tree. This will allow us to constantly run around super duper fast and scale our damage with the Face-Puncher. So the idea of this build is just to be trying to run as fast as possible and just one-shotting every enemy you see. Make sure to constantly be shooting your shoulder cannons to activate the Novas to freeze the enemies, and make sure you have that barrier out there, because if you don't have the barrier out there, there's a chance that you might take a lot of unnecessary damage. And as mentioned before, we are running 1 point into Salvation, so because Borderlands is super awesome, we have that cool mechanic that if we get below, I believe it's 25% health, it's called life gating. I don't remember the term, I'm a little rusty, I haven't made a video in a while. But life gating allows us to have, I believe, 3 seconds of invulnerability, and because Salvation's always procced because of seeing red in the blue tree, we're always going to have that life steal, and since we're dealing millions of damage, our life is going to be able to fill up instantly no matter what. It's very unlikely that you won't have your kill skills active as Zane. Anybody who's played Zane for a long time knows that it's very easy to keep your action skills up, especially with the shoulder cannon, because we got 5 shots on the sucker, because we have this action scale augment, which increases our charges by 2, making it a total of 5 charges. This allows us to just have charges all day, every day. And of course, since we're running a kill skill oriented build, we want to use Seeing Dead. Now the Seeing Dead that you have don't really matter that much. I just have random action skills and modifiers on here, so it doesn't really matter what you have on there. It's just important that you have the actual mod because of the ability itself. This build allows you to solo most content very easily. It does phenomenal on bossing and mobbing. Mobbing is obviously a lot faster. Most Face-Puncher builds are able to do mobbing and bossing really well, but this build in particular does the best on mobbing. Not quite sure why it doesn't kill bosses as fast as my other Face-Puncher builds, but I'm sure there's some reasons I can't think of right now. But you're totally able to kill bosses really fast with this build as well. You just can't one-shot them as my other Face-Puncher builds. What makes this build a little bit different than most Face-Puncher builds is that the increased fire rate that we get from the Face-Puncher, from the terror anointments, allows us to dish out damage really quickly if we ever need to kill someone in more than one shot. This helps when we're just starting out in a battle and there might be a badass right in front of you as opposed to just some fodder enemy. This allows you to build up your groundbreaker stacks easier. And by stacks, they're not actually stacks, they're just in-game calculator that keeps track of your non-melee damage, but let's not worry about the specifics in math. And I touched upon it a little bit earlier in the video, but keep in mind, when you're using this build, you want to always be running fast because there's no point to be constantly just staying in one spot. What you want to do is actually run up into a group of enemies and just activate your shoulder cannon so you can just activate the Nova and obliterate everyone around you. The Novas itself allow us to kill any low tier enemies very easily, so just try to run up into those groups and just shoot your shoulder cannon really anywhere because the cannon itself, you don't have to worry about the damage coming from the cannon. You're just worrying about getting those Novas out there so you can just kill everyone instantly. And if it doesn't, for some reason, kill those low tier enemies, you can just one-tap them with the Face-Puncher because of all the modifiers and multipliers we have from the Frozen bonus and the Groundbreaker bonuses as well. We've actually been making a lot of Face-Puncher builds recently, so after this video, I might stay away from the Face-Puncher and try to focus on other type of builds because I believe, made, I think, 5 different Face-Puncher builds on this channel alone. It might be less, it might be more, I don't remember, but it just goes to show you how powerful the Face-Puncher is. Like, if I were to make my top 10 favorite guns, Face-Puncher would definitely be in there because it just kills everything so easily, no matter if you have optimal gear or not. So you can get any type of Face-Puncher on your character and just kill any enemy really easily. It's honestly a great weapon. I really like it. And not only does this build have the Face-Puncher, if you're interested, we do have 3 other weapons on here. The only other weapon that really is that amazing on this build would be the Fearmonger, because we have all this terror anointments, so might as well use the Fearmonger itself. It was a really good call on Sentence to Burn to add that to the build as well. And of course you could use the Light Show. Light Show is good with any type of build. So if you want to use this, it also has a terror anointment, gain crit damage, so don't forget to check that down below in the save file. This build was modified a little from Sentence to Burn's save file, so it's not exactly the same as Sentence to Burn's save file, but I felt like this few modifications that I made to the build has made it a little bit better. I didn't touch the skill tree at all. The only thing I really modified was the weapon, the shield, and that's it. It didn't have the Frozen Heart at the beginning, so I thought adding the Frozen Heart would allow us to deal even more damage because of the easy freeze and the utility that it provides. If you guys are wondering, here's the skill trees that we use. We go all the way down on blue. We don't do any on red. Go midway on green, all the way down on purple. So let's analyze this a little. We got 5 on Violent Speed and 5 on Violent Momentum. No brainer. Violent Momentum has tons of Mayhem scaling. This allows us to just deal crazy amounts of damage super quickly. And then we have 1 point of Salvation. You don't need more than just 1 point in Salvation as Zane. You never ever have to in late game. So make sure that if you're a Zane player, that you're only running 1 point of Salvation. This allows you to get your health back all the way really quickly, because in late game you should be dealing almost millions of damage every single shot. So make sure if you're a Zane player and you didn't know that, switch over your builds to just have 1 point. We have Cool Hands. This allows us to reload speed a lot quicker. The Face-Puncher doesn't have a lot of shots in its magazine, so reload speed is very important. So make sure you have a decent amount of points of Cool Hands so you can constantly get your magazine at a good point so you don't have to run out of ammo. Of course, we're using Seeing Red to activate our skill skills. That's one's a no-brainer. This one always fucks me up. Violent Violence allows us to shoot faster, so that's very important. And Playing Dirty, we don't need 7 shots into Playing Dirty. If you wanted to modify this a little, you could put those points elsewhere because you really just need 1 point into this because the extra shot chance is 100%. This effect is a little bit misleading. It just says every single kill you have a chance to activate this effect. And since we're already in Seeing Red and you constantly want to be shooting your Mantis cannon, you could just put 1 point in this and get maximum effects of it. I hope I explained that well enough. If you guys are confused, ask in the comments and I'll totally explain it a little bit better. Or even look it up. There's tons of guides already explaining that. Good Misfortune kill skills, you know, we want to have our skill duration up for our shield, so that's great to have. And Death Follow Close, of course, kill skill bonus is always important to have as Zane. You could probably get away from doing anything on this tree. I personally like to get ready for action to keep my shields healthy. That's what I'm assuming Sentence the Bird had those points in. The crits don't matter too much since the only thing that can crit in this build is the white elephant grenades. And Distributed Denial doesn't really use Frozen Heart very well as a shield mod, so you can get away with not using that. But I like to have these two augments personally when using shields. I can honor getting down to this point in the skill tree to just use those points. And then in the purple tree, obviously we want the action skill augment No Way Out, and I can't pronounce that, proliferation, I guess. No Way Out brings the enemies to me. Personally, I like that as opposed to the other ones because I feel like the other ones are they don't deal a lot of damage themselves, so I like to use No Way Out just to get those enemies closer to us, and it kind of adds a slag effect to the enemies to increase the damage we deal, so that's very cool to use. I don't know if that affects bosses actually. I'm interested to see if it affects bosses. I'm going to have to research that later. And then proliferation for more charges. We want to constantly have shoulder charges, so I like that. Mana Focus allows us to have more accuracy and handling. This allows you to kind of like snipe from afar away with the Face-Puncher. If you ever see an enemy far away, that's a very useful thing to use. And we have Commitment, which increases our gun damage. That's always important. And if you wanted to, you can sprint and shoot at the same time. I like to sprint and shoot at the same time for my character on Zane, and I can respect Sentence to Burn adding that mid skill point because I really like that. Whenever I played Borderlands the Pre-Sequel, I always liked Wilhelm's ability to run and shoot at the same time. I think it's very, very awesome to be able to do that. Anyways, getting back into it, domino effects allows our white elephant critical hits to proc fire rate and reload speed. Very important to have a reload speed to reload our Face-Puncher really, really fast. Those are kind of the most important points in the skill trees themselves. I'll give you one last look. We go all the way down on blue, nothing in red, midway on green, all the way down in purple. That's all we have on the skill trees. And here's our Guardian ranks. We're pretty beefed up from our stats, and we go all the way down to Guardian rewards. Now, for everyone who is wondering, you're not going to have a great time with this build if you're not running a Groundbreaker. If you don't have Groundbreaker on your account, I'd recommend getting it as soon as possible because that's like one of the best abilities you can get if you want to run a Face-Puncher. If you don't have Groundbreaker, Face-Puncher's not as good. It's really a game changer when you get Groundbreaker because you'll change from doing 1 million damage to like 1 billion damage randomly. It's crazy skill, so always make sure you have that. And we're actually running Mayhem 11 here, so we don't have any modifiers to worry about. If you're running Mayhem modifiers, I would just do the basics, like running Mayhem 10 like me, like Big Kick Energy, Healing Avenger, Chain Gang, Postmortem, you know, the easy ones. Don't use anything that's going to really F up your life. And don't forget, if you really like this build too, check it down below. I always have the save files for any of my builds in my comments and description, so go down there and use the save file if you're on PC, if you're on console, so sorry. If you're interested in any of my other builds, you could try my other Face-Puncher build, recently made with Flak. It utilizes the Face-Puncher and the Psycho Stabber to deal most amount of damage, and uses the Peregrine class mod with the Fish Slap as well. We're actually able to kill Grave Ward in 4 shots with that build. It's very, very fun. If you want to try to get away from the Face-Puncher style, you could try an Iron Cub build. Iron Cub builds are very, very easy. You're able to deal millions of damage with that as well. I have a Moze build that uses a Flare and Iron Cub to allow us to deal tons of damage with Moze and Iron Cub at the same time. If you want to try something different and fun, we have a Moze build that allows you to have infinite amp shots if you're using Rush Defensive. In the green tree is Moze. You just constantly run and get your shields back instantly, allowing you to deal infinite amp shots. So if you like that, click up there. If you want to try something that's very skill shot oriented, you could try our Zane one-shot everything crossbow plus cold bore build. It's all about running really fast and trying to skill shot people with the crossbow. The crossbow is able to one-shot enemies very, very easily. We were able to deal 1 billion damage to Grave Ward with that build very, very easily, so I definitely recommend trying that if you want to try something tricky like that. If you want to use a Moze build that is all about dealing the most amount of damage with Moze, you could try our Light Show plus Flare build. It is a 100% on-foot Moze build, so you don't have to use Iron Bear at all. You just kind of exit him and let Auto Bear just do his own thing while you deal tons and tons of damage with Moze and the Light Show pistol. And finally, if you want another action skill oriented build, you could use our Light Show plus Peregrine build. This allows you to throw out your rack attacks and then summon 4 grenades at once instantly with the Light Speed grenade. absolutely crazy. I love that build so much. It was awesome when I discovered it and posted it on the internet for the first time for everyone to see. It's absolutely insane. I definitely recommend trying that one out. We were able to actually solo the entire Malawan and Guardian takedown without shooting a single bullet with that build. It's absolutely insane. I want to say thanks once again to Sentence to Burn that gave us this build back in November or October. Sorry it took so long to make this video, and sorry for everyone. I haven't made a video in almost 1 month. I have been going through a lot. I recently actually engaged Mrs. Pugly. There's a lot going on in my life, so hopefully I'm able to actually start making lots more videos. Thanks everyone for your patience with that. Alrighty buddies, that's all I have for today. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope y'all have a great day. Bye-bye.
And the last shall be first to immerse in a pass out heat, facing him up with a moxie melt till he woke up drowning in tchotchke hell. War in a cave with a torch on a wall, then a window arrangement of porcelain dolls.